Garrison.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I would love to know about what brought you to North Port. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it happened by an accident, I think. My brother lives in North Port, and I was working in Lee County with the sheriff's office, and I know they went through the first round of police chiefs, and they didn't pick one. So my brother called me up one night and was, hey, they're gonna put in for a second round of police chiefs, you should put in for the job. Well, I really wasn't looking for a chief's job at the time. I was nearing my retirement time with the Lee County Sheriff's Office, and I was gonna go into drop. And I said, well, I have nothing to lose, so why not put in for it? And not expecting to get it, lo and behold, I got it. So I landed here in North Port.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think we were really fortunate.
I'm very happy.
Well, I think the community's very happy.
I hope so.
With all due respect, you know, you came to a department that had problems. But I think, this is my not so humble opinion, it's our opinion, ABCD, are you familiar with ABCD?
I am.
Okay, accountability equals better community direction.
Correct.
Part of what spawned ABCD in 2016 is something, I know you know Stephanie, was something that happened with her that dealt with a previous police. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Make that very clear, nothing to do with you whatsoever. But there was some accountability issues. And what I see is we've really moved in a better direction. And that's exciting.
I hope so.
Because we talked about when you arrived, it starts with hiring people with a specific attitude.
Correct.
That says, we're here to serve the community.
Right. And that's what I want. I want true police officers that have a servant's heart and that want to do this because it's a passion, not because it's just a job. And I think if you have those type of people, everything else comes naturally with it.
Well, we've always said that it's important to have someone at the head who sets that expectation up front, and I think you do.
Well, I hope so. I'm third generation law enforcement. Everybody in my family is a police officer. My two
Let's
grandfathers.
Go there. Tell us your whole history.
My father served for 50 years. Both my brothers are retired law enforcement. I had two uncles that are retired law enforcement. I have two cousins that are currently still on the job up in Michigan. And my fiance is a law enforcement officer. So everybody around me is a law enforcement officer. I actually started when I was 14 years old as a police explorer, and it was something I always knew I wanted to do. And I've been wearing a badge and a uniform since I was 14 years old. I became a police officer at 19 and worked at a small police department and then moved to Lee County and got hired on with the sheriff's office there, rose through the ranks and retired as a major. And
that's terrific. I
came here, but everybody, like I said, everybody in my family has been serving in the Garrison name almost just shy of 100 years.
Wow,
So,
that's a serious legacy.
Yep.
That's a serious legacy. I like that.
So
in your 2 years here, because it has been almost 2 years.
almost in July.
I thought it was just a couple of weeks off.
Right.
Tell us what you feel, what you came to, where it was then, where you feel it is today, and tell us about where you see it going.
You know, when I came in, there was a lot of openings that needed to be filled. The department was going through a major transition. There was a lot of people that left the department before my arrival. So there was
Probably good.
Well, I don't know because I don't know a lot of those people, whether or not they were good or bad. And with me, I always allow everybody to have a clean slate with me. I don't prejudge people. And so when I got here, there's a lot of openings. We've had a lot of applicants that we've had to go through. And we're trying to find the right fit for the right mold. But you know, I stepped into a department that was that welcomed me, which was big, and a community that also welcomed me, and a boss, the city manager, you know, Pete Lear, who allowed me the flexibility to do what I needed to do.
That's big.
And
I think that's important.
That's been a huge help because I can't do the things without his support. And beyond that, I've had a commission that supports the police department and the law enforcement mission as well. So, you know, all those things combined, I think have helped me be successful where I'm at. But it's the men and women wearing this uniform that are out there day in and day out, doing the hard work that are making me look good. I mean, I can't sit here and take the credit. I'm at the helm, but they're the ones out there day in and day out that are doing this.
But it still starts from the top.
It-
The buck still stops with you,
It
let's
does.
be honest.
It does, but I like to direct my attention to the troops
Sure.
because they're the ones that are out, you know, in the field.
Tell me some of the things. You said the commission, the city manager has allowed you the flexibility to do the things you needed to do. Can you tell me, are you allowed to tell me some
Sure,
of those
I mean,
things? I know
you
it's
know,
law enforcement,
A lot
sometimes you
of it
can't.
was, you know, restructuring the department, and realigning positions.
Like what?
You know, basically, I aligned the structure of the police department with more of a traditional style police department. I put law enforcement officers command-wise over every component of the agency. So
That's a change.
that is a change. Not to take away from the civilian staff that were there, but I felt it was important to have some law enforcement leadership over all components of the department.
Okay.
And so being able to do that, we've had to reassign some positions and reclassify them in order to get what I needed. So all those things combined have helped me align the department where it's at today.
Okay. In that 2-year period, what would you say is your greatest achievement?
You know, I don't like to focus on good or bad.
Come on, toot your horn.
No, I'm one that will never toot my horn. But what I will say is, I think the thing I'm most proud of is that, especially with what's going on around the world right now, we have an outpouring of support for the police department. And that tells me that we are doing something right. So I think I'm most proud of the reputation of the North Port Police Department within the community right now.
And that's a change, and I can tell you that from a personal perspective.
Well, that's good.
That's a positive change. It's a really positive direction change.
That's good.
And I do believe that that is directly relatable to your leadership.
Well, I've got good people around me.
But you've had good support,
Mhm.
but you've also demanded a respectable reputation.
Right.
Or at least that's what I see.
You know, I
I could be
honestly,
wrong.
I honestly don't have to demand it. It's just there. You know, I don't walk through the halls and throw around I'm the chief or anything like that. I'm very approachable, down to earth, and you know, I don't ever have to assert my authority, which is how I like to operate.
So it's just natural.
Well, I hope so.
That's great. Is there anything in your 2 years that you would change?
You know, no, because I'm at I'm in that position right now. If there's something I want to change, I change it.
Okay.
So, and there hasn't been any hiccups along the way, other than, you know, budgetary issues. You know, obviously there's only so many dollars to go around and you gotta share those dollars with all the other departments. I get that. If I had my way, I would have more support people within the department, because that's one area that we do lack. And we also are understaffed as far as police officers go.
Okay. Like as a ratio to population?
Well,
Is that what you mean?
yeah, and then you gotta look at all the things that are coming to Northport and the demands on the police department. And even like West Villages and Major League Baseball and stuff, it requires a lot of personnel. And then if you have that event going on with another event going on, before you know it, you're stretching your resources thin.
Okay.
And then you're having to work your staff a lot harder. So then you worry about that burnout, that fatigue.
And we have some difficult financial realities coming down the pike here.
Yep.
I mean, we have to be honest.
Oh yeah?
I believe that. I think we, as ABCD, see that there's definitely some financial issues that are gonna loom over all of us.
Oh yeah, I think we're,
Sales tax is down,
right,
property tax, I think, will potentially go down if there's a rash of foreclosures, which is possible.
Mhm.
I was explaining this to one of the commissioners the other day. Over 50% of people's mortgages are in forbearance. 50%. At the end of that, if their mortgagor, I guess it is,
right,
doesn't extend that period or tack it on to the back of their loan, does anybody think they're honestly gonna be able to come up with 3 to 6 months of payments in one
Yeah.
swoop?
No,
No, so you could have, that's
Yeah.
the old banker in me looking at it and saying, we could have a swoop
Yeah.
of
and
foreclosures.
we've
And
gone through it before, you know, and it affects the operation for a
Yes.
couple of years until
Dollars and
things,
cents.
until it rebounds,
so,
you know,
I'm just hoping,
yeah. I mean,
and me, I
I
will
think we're all
tell you,
hoping.
as ABCD, we talk a lot about needs and wants, and we talk about essential versus non-essential services.
Right.
It's a big part of accountability for us. We feel that police and fire services are the essential services of any city, period. Everything else,
I'm
very
kinda biased,
honestly,
I would agree.
beyond that, is non-essential.
Right.
Everything past that is essentially non-essential.
Yeah.
So, we support that, but I think there are some budgetary realities that are gonna come,
Oh, I'm sure.
that are gonna be
Yeah.
hard.
Yep.
So, one of the things that I think happened on your watch, but I'm not sure, the Bearcat?
It was happening right as I was coming in.
Okay,
I did write a letter before I took the position. I think I was named chief, but I hadn't started yet. I did write a letter, and it was read into the commission meeting that I did support the purchase of the Bearcat
okay. Have we had an opportunity or need to use it?
several times.
Okay, so then it has proven itself to be worthwhile.
Absolutely.
That's good. And I know with everything that was happening in the country, that's what brought it to my own personal mind,
Right.
was, might be a good thing we have that Bearcat if we have any unrest that
Mhm.
would be in the community. Thank goodness. I don't think we've
Peop-
had that I've seen.
Well, I mean, it's not just for the unrest. I mean, we've had it deployed on a couple of our SWAT operations with barricaded subjects inside. That's primarily what we've used it for in our search warrants. But, you know, there's so many misconceptions out there of this vehicle. You know, people call it a tank and this and that. And I know that this armored rescue vehicle has sparked a lot of interest in people in North Port. And, you know, I see the social media comments, and there's a lot of people that don't feel that we need it. But I can tell you, I've been in the field. I've been a cop for almost 28 years. I'm just going in my 28th year right now. And I have been in some very, very, very bad situations before we had armored vehicles. And I'm telling you, trying to hide behind a tree when shots are being fired at you is not a good feeling.
No.
And I'm not a little guy, so you gotta find a big tree to hide behind. So, you know, until people are willing to put this uniform on and go risk their lives to go down range when there's danger down there without the protection, maybe then they can talk about it.
And that's
So-
fair.
I'm not gonna waver on that, because I've buried my deputies before. I've delivered those death notifications, and at the tip of the helm here, I do not wanna do that. So I wanna provide my people with all the equipment they need.
And we don't want you to have to do that
I
either.
hope not.
We don't. That's helpful to educate, including us at ABCD, about that particular item, because I know it was an expense or
Right.
whatever, and you're right, social media. So it's helpful to have that conversation and help educate people about how it's being used and why it's an important part of our police department. We don't want you to have to deliver those death notices either.
And as you know,
Something you
Connie,
may not know,
what's that?
my daughter has applied to be a cop where she lives.
Awesome.
So, just
But-
so you
But you
know,
know, as you look around the news and the media, tragic things happen in the smallest towns.
yes,
And people need to realize that North Port might be that sleepy little town, but it's not gonna be that sleepy little town anymore. It's changing. And, you know, if you have a build out of 250,000, this is not going to be a small town.
No.
And, you know, it's 104 square miles, and people are moving in, and bad things happen everywhere. We have to be prepared. You know, people say, well, why does North Port cops need this? Call the sheriff. You know how long it takes to respond, you know, to rely on the sheriff's assets to come from Sarasota when you need them now? I've been there. I've had to wait for assets for a long time. It's not a good feeling.
you've had situations where we had to wait.
Oh, absolutely.
That's frustrating.
Yep.
That's frustrating. Is there any chance that we might be able to get animal control back?
I honestly believe the sheriff does a really good job with that service, and we have not had any, like, within the police department, we have not had any issues with the service that they've provided, nor have I gotten any complaints from the constituents out there
Okay.
about the service they're providing.
Okay.
So, it's not something that I would push for. You talk about essential services, you know, you start paying for a lot when you start dealing with animal services too.
Okay, so, and you've had good response from the sheriff's department?
Yes.
That's what brought it to my mind, was the response
Yeah.
time issue and
No,
that kind of thing.
you know, we see the animal service vehicle down here in Northport all the time. And a lot of times they sit in our parking lot at the police station,
Oh,
you know, in between calls. So they're down here.
That's
I mean,
fair.
the sheriff is very dedicated. A lot of people don't think that or know that, but the sheriff is very dedicated to providing that service down here.
that's good. And I would assume that probably has a lot to do with relationships.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with the sheriff's office.
Well, that's important. I think
Yep.
that's very important.
You know, the downside is we're so far disconnected from Sarasota and the main hub of where everything happens. As everybody knows, you know, we're kind of on an island all by ourselves down here,
Yeah.
so, you know, we have to rely on ourselves. But the sheriff has been very supportive since I've been here.
Is there anything that we can do to support you, to support the department?
I think you guys are doing it. I think we're getting the support that we need. You know, we have to do bad things sometimes, take people to jail, write people tickets, stuff like that. We're not gonna be everybody's favorite person all the time. But I think overall, people see the goodness out of the Northport Police Department and what we do to the community, that we have that support that we need coming in right now. I know a lot of people that are wearing this uniform across this country right now are not having that respect.
I liked what I saw on Saturday, that there was an impromptu
Yep.
support
Did
our
not
police
expect that,
department. I
yeah.
thought that was really nice. I wish I'd known. I think we all wish we'd known.
Yep.
We would have been there.
I guess it
Didn't
popped
know.
up on Northport Neighbors and kind of grew, and
That's nice. I
So-
think that's nice.
Yep.
And I know even on social media, I'm on social media now. I just did that June 1st.
nice.
But I went on and said to the lady, please put me on the interested list. And I think there were a lot of people saying the same thing, that
Good.
they would come and support the police department. So I didn't see any negative comments there at all. It was all about, gee, I wish I'd known, I support the police, we back the badge, we back the blue.
It was overwhelming support, which is nice.
Yes,
You know, and being a leader during these times, it's hard to keep your morale up for the troops, and the troops need to see that and they need to hear that.
was it
Because,
helpful?
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's a lot of people second guessing, why am I doing this job during these times? And you're gonna see mass exodus across the country. People are going to leave law enforcement because it's just not worth it to people. We're hoping that in Northport, we keep morale up, the support there and things positive, that we don't have to worry about that, but you're gonna have people say, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore.
Great. Well, I wanna say congratulations for 2 years.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it,
I think we're lucky to have you. ABCD thinks we're lucky to have you.
thank you.
And it's so crazy that part of what really spawned ABCD 4 years ago in 2016 started with something that had to do with the police department.
Well,
It really did. And so it's exciting to sit here and believe that we really have moved
well,
a
good.
long way in the right direction. And I credit you.
Well, I hear you, but I don't take the credit.
Well, I think it's very, very important to give you credit where it's due. And yes, your officers too, yes. But it starts at the head.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you. We're continuing our conversation with Chief Garrison, who's been here not quite 2 years, but we're celebrating 2 years with him.
Yay.
We've had a great conversation. It's exciting for ABCD to have been a part of the change that's happening and is continuing to happen. And we really appreciate your leadership in allowing
Thank
that to happen. There were a couple of questions as we stopped, took a break, and we wanted to talk about the jail. There apparently used to be jail cells here. I believe they're now used for something else. Is there a potential that we could do that? Would it be beneficial? Would it be too expensive? Let's talk about jail.
Well, we do have jail cells in the police station. They have been converted to property holding.
Okay.
But in order for us to have a jail system, the jail's, put under the authority of the county commission. And the county commission has the sheriff run the jails. So the funding and everything you would need to run a jail, you would have to have medical staff and all these different types of insurances and stuff like that. You're talking about a multi-million-dollar operation just to open up a jail cell here in North Port. So, we talk about dollars and cents and where we need to be, more prudent. We need the sheriff to continue running the jails.
Okay.
I don't think we as North Port need to get into the jail business.
Is there any interim step, anything that we could change? I know sometimes our officers are transporting folks to the jail in Sarasota County, and then they're not able to deal with calls. Is there anything we could
there's a couple other municipalities have contracts with transport services.
Okay.
For instance, like Pinellas County Sheriff's Office contracts with a private company, and they drive around the county, and cities pay a little bit into the transport service, and they transport their inmates for them.
Okay.
So, that if we want to start thinking about out of the box, that would be a conversation I wouldn't mind having, with the sheriff about, and the other police chiefs in the county, if that's something they'd be interested in too.
Okay, that's something.
And that would
I didn't
free
know
up,
about that,
that
but
would
yes.
free up the officers having to, drive 45, 50 minutes up each way.
And back,
You know,
yes.
and then you're at the jail for, an hour plus. So when a police officer makes an arrest here in North Port, we lose them for over 3 hours.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
Okay, so if we had a transport service, they'd be able to get back on the street sooner.
Absolutely.
I like that idea. I think I like that idea.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I didn't know about that, but I'm glad I asked that question. I think that was good. We talked a little bit about this week and what's been going on, and I know North Port is the leader in our area regarding body cameras
Absolutely.
for officers. And one of our members, Stephanie Gibson, was very instrumental. I know she worked with you.
Very pivotal in that whole implementation of the body cameras. She spoke and people listened, and she, put out there the need for it on both sides. The need for it on the citizen side and also the need for it on the police officer side. She saw both sides, and she championed for that, and she made that change.
But you also made that change, because we had a chief previously who said, can't do it, won't do it, not gonna have it. And that's leadership.
I see the value in the cameras, and especially with what's going on in the world right now.
Yes.
You see a lot of these things unfolding, and sometimes the camera doesn't fit the narrative or story that certain people want it to fit, but you always have that perspective of what's going on. And that's why I think it's important we maintain the car cameras too, because you have two cameras rolling, it's different perspectives, different views. And I think it's important, especially in today's day and age, being transparent and open.
Accountability.
That we have those going on. I personally think every law enforcement officer should have to wear a camera now.
I know that there
I can
are
tell you,
lots
just
of,
not to cut you off,
Sorry.
but I can tell you that it's helped my officers more than anything, because I've had people call in complaints and make an allegation that my officers did X, Y, and Z or said X, Y, and Z, and when we pull the body camera, it's an absolute fabricated lie.
Yay,
So
bravo.
I see the value of it. Now
Bravo.
my officers don't even want to go out without a camera. So they've accepted it, and they see the value in it now. So we're happy that,
That's exciting.
yeah, we're happy that Stephanie pushed it.
That's exciting. Well, we're also appreciative that you were accepting, and that the city manager was accepting as well, and the commission,
Absolutely.
they voted
They were,
to do
yeah.
that. So we gotta give all
It
the
was-
credit all around.
It was credit all the way around, you're right.
Yes, but I appreciate hearing from your perspective what it has done for morale with your own officers. I
Right.
know there are several other entities in this vicinity that are looking at implementing something similar but it's exciting to know that
Yeah.
Northport was first.
I can just tell you, I'm glad we have them right now, and we're not having to fight the battle of trying to find the funds, especially with, you know,
Cuts.
yeah, with cuts and everything else going on, that we already have it.
Yes.
So we're ahead of the game, which I'm appreciative of.
That's good. Although again, that's one of those things, it's an essential service. That's not a non-essential service in
Right.
our view. That is essential. That's public safety. It protects the officers, but it also protects the public.
Absolutely.
Everybody wins.
It does.
Why would you not want to do it?
Right.
So I'm excited. And cameras, on that same vein, speaking about traffic cams. And I know in a lot of communities, you had mentioned that many communities are actually getting rid of their red light cameras.
Right.
And I think we learned in a conversation earlier that Florida law currently does not allow what I call traffic cams. I came from California.
Right.
And on poles all along I-5 were camera after camera after camera. You knew you were on camera all the time.
Right.
Apparently they're not allowed by state law.
Correct.
So,
Red light cameras are, but the traffic cams you are referring to are not.
so that would actually require state legislative change if that were ever to be, number one, looked at, and then
Right.
it would have to be funded. You have to have someone who's looking at that
Yep.
all the time. But the red light cameras, talk about that a little bit. Do we have any in Northport?
No, we do not. I know Sarasota does have red light cameras. We do not have them here. You know, basically, they become a revenue generating machine. You know, some people might say, well, that's good, let's get all the money we can come with, but I don't believe that we should be out there issuing everybody tickets. And I believe that we should be out there trying to educate people and change people's driving behaviors.
That's fair.
And I think if we get into this machine of we're just gonna go out and just write tickets all day long, that's not the reputation that I want. I want to change behavior to make the roadways safe. You know, just writing tickets all day long, I don't know if you're really gonna, you know, get the reaction that you want.
Okay. So that may not be the best answer
Right.
for us at this point. Okay, I agree with that. Talk about body cams, jail, traffic cams, drones. I heard some rumors.
Yes, North
About
Port Police
drones?
Department does have a drone.
Are you flying it around people's house?
No, we are not flying
I didn't
around
think
your
so.
house, we're not looking in windows, we're not doing any of that. We do have a drone that we use for like missing kids, missing persons. We'll deploy it, Alzheimer's patients, because we can deploy that fairly quickly before the sheriff's helicopter can get down here. So, and then there's times when we can, you know, we call for the sheriff's helicopter because of weather conditions, they can't fly. So the drone we can still put up. We've also used the drone to take aerial photographs of like crash scenes and stuff like that. But no, we are not flying it and looking in people's houses or anything. We're forbidden by law on a lot of the things that we can do. So it's very strict on what law enforcement's use of the drones are. Don't buy into all the stuff that you're hearing on social media because it's absolutely fabricated.
And there are a lot of people out there who have their own
Oh,
private
absolutely.
drones.
They do, and they, you know, they're probably the same drones that we use too. I mean, it's not like we bought some special cop drone. We bought a drone that anybody in the public can buy.
They have to have a license though, don't they? Do you have
We-
like an FAA license for a drone?
We do. Law enforcement is very regulated. In order for us to use it, our pilots have to be licensed, yes.
Okay.
Private citizen, no.
Oh, okay.
So private citizen
know
can
that.
fly their drone, you know, like, but we cannot. So it's very restricted what law enforcement can use the drone for.
So if I see a drone outside my window, can I shoot it?
No comment.
Okay, I won't put you on record on that one. That's crazy. Let's talk about gangs, because do we have gang affiliation, gang issues going on in Northport? And talk
Coming
about
from
profiling,
Coming from
etc.
where I came from, no, I don't see gang activity, quote unquote, here in Northport.
Okay,
So, at all.
that's good. No profiling, no,
No, we don't
Listing.
profile, but, you know, if we check out with somebody and, you know, they've got gang-related tattoos on them and certain colors, and throw in certain hand signs, then yeah, we're gonna ask them, are you affiliated with a gang? And if you are, we're gonna do a field interview report, and we're probably gonna take their pictures and document who we are, you know, who we're out with and why.
Do you keep that then?
Our field interview reports are kept and sent up to investigations for them to review, and then they're destroyed.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yep.
But I knew that there was all this unrest going on, and I didn't know if that was in any way gang related.
We, knock on wood, we don't have the unrest here,
We don't
so,
want to either.
Yeah.
Keep it nice. So, what would you like to say to the community as a wrap up?
well, I just wanna say thank you for being so supportive of the men and women of the police department. And I just want everybody to know that I'm approachable, I'm accessible. My cell phone number is on my business card that I
That's
give
very
out to
impressive.
everybody. My email address is right on the webpage, right under my picture. So, I mean, I'm accessible and I'm available. And if people have issues or problems, I want them to at least call me and afford me an opportunity to try to fix it, or mitigate the problem, or get them the information that they need.
I think that's great. Thank
So,
you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
We really
it.
appreciate your time. We appreciate your service, and we appreciate your whole department.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay?
Thanks.